Idleman Unplugged is part of the Edify podcast network.
I want to see your face, pass me by the crowds of people, the priests who sing your praise.
Hello, my name is Shane Idleman, and I'm the pastor of Westside Christian Fellowship in Leona Valley, California. It is my personal heart and goal for you to see truth through a biblical perspective. I hope that you enjoy this segment of Idleman Unplugged. Hello, welcome to Idleman Unplugged. This episode is The Breaking of America, What Hurts the Most. The state of our nation today reminds me of the Twilight Zone reruns that I watched as a young boy. They were always very eerie and unsettling. For those unfamiliar with the Twilight Zone, it was a science fiction horror series that ended in 1964. Each episode began with an introduction from host Rod Serling telling the viewer that they were entering the Twilight Zone. I can still remember that music. And they often featured a story where the actors experienced very disturbing or unusual events, and sometimes it was even comical. But for us today, living in America, this is no TV series. Many disturbing events we hear of in the news and in our communities are for real. For example, the increasing support for pro-terrorist groups who butcher women and children. For example, the University of Maryland had a Palestinian rally, under the heading of Holocaust 2.0. We also have seen of many other incidents where there's a battle now going on in school districts over pronouns. Can you believe that? And they're supporting people with mental health issues and illicit behavior while silencing those who dare to challenge them and their false narratives. Instead of offering hope and direction, they are given accolades and applause. It's okay to say you're a woman. It's okay to say you can have a baby if you're a man. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm reminded often of Psalm 12:8. The wicked freely parade and prance about while evil is praised throughout the land. Now, the alarming increase in school shootings and the manifestos reveal who should also be held responsible for these destructive influences. And I believe it's those who are influencing this godly agenda. They need to be held accountable. The enemy has penetrated our walls as well, the borders. It is no surprise that just like the Trojan horse, it's no longer a matter of if something happens, but when it happens. We also look at the debilitating effects of the opiate and fentanyl crisis, especially in major cities. Look at drag queen story hours where godless and perverted men get permission to groom children. It is absolutely unthinkable and appalling, and we should be ashamed of ourselves if we support this. What about the thunderous applause now even from Ohio, applauding the death of being able to kill babies, almost even up to birth? They join in with California and New York. What about the incredible stupidity that suggests men can have babies? I mean, not even the Twilight Zone dared to go there that I can recall. What about the weak and the woke pastors who lack the courage and the backbone to boldly stand for the truth? And finally, what about the brokenness of families that we are seeing? It is alarming, the men who are just willing to walk away from their God-ordained responsibility to lead their families. I remember reading about Michael Reagan, the son of Ronald Reagan. He wrote that divorce is where two adults take everything that matters to a child, the child's home, family security, and sense of being loved and protected, and they smash it to pieces and leave it in ruins on the floor. Then they walk out and leave the child to clean up the mess. Now, I know there's a lot listening who have experienced divorce and may be currently in that situation, but be encouraged. God redeems, God sets free, God restores. There are consequences to our choices, but it's better to live inside the will of God than outside of his will, broken and shattered. So run to him, give him your pain and problems, and let him rebuild your life, and don't live in shame and guilt any longer. There's a way to put those two words together. The next heading here is running from the remedy. What alarms, shocks, and hurts me the most is that most Americans are provoking God by running from the remedy, and they are cursing the cure, which is him. God is the only answer right now. And you may say, Shane, this is hard to hear. Yes, it is. But at this stage in the game, it's very healthy to mourn and weep at the mess we've created. We must ask for the aid of God via the blessing of brokenness and the gift of humility. Rob Foltz said that the call to repentance is not cruel, it's caring. The call to holiness is not enslaving, but liberating. We all fear something. We all fear something, and fear controls our actions. The left fears the right, and the majority of the right fears the left. We need to start fearing God again. As we've learned throughout history, men are either controlled by the Bible or by the bayonet. The fear of the Lord is so important. But let's be, crystal clear here. A national awakening sparked by the fear of God is our only hope. Christian galas and events and festivals and conferences are great, but they will never usher in God's presence. Business as usual is not going to cut it anymore. So I want these big organizations that like to put on big Christian events, I want you to think about this for a minute. Are you incorporating massive amounts of prayer and fasting and worship and seeking the heart of God? Because if you're not, you're just going through the motions, and we are not going to see God move in powerful and profound ways until we break this business as usual mentality out of our mindset. The early church spent days waiting in an upper room before the fire fell. They understood that the secret to revival was the secret place. Spiritual awakenings are not birthed in arrogance. They are only born in the womb of brokenness. Let me say that again. Spiritual awakenings are not birthed in arrogance. They are born in the womb of brokenness. The real question, if you think salvation is coming in 2024, you will be gravely mistaken. God only knows the chaos that may ensue. The real question is, are you ready? In the depths of a despairing world, we cannot forget about God's grace and love. You may feel that you've done too much damage, but don't lose heart. You'll be amazed at what God can do with humility, brokenness, and repentance. Humble yourself today and begin to fear God again. That is our only hope. Someone must light the flame. At a critical time in Israel's history, Elijah approached the people and said, "How long will you waver between two opinions?" In other words, how long are you going to hesitate? If God is God, follow him. Don't keep going back and forth. The same call goes out today. How long will you waver? Is his word in your heart like a burning fire? Jeremiah 29, is it? Or has it been quenched and grieved and put out? We must begin here. God still looks for men and women to light the fire and fan the flames of revival. E.M. Bounds said it is only when the whole heart is gripped with the passion of prayer that the life-giving fire descends, for none but the earnest man gets access to the ear of God. Malcolm Gladwell adds, "Look at the world around you. It may seem immovable. It is not. With the slightest push in the right place, it can be tipped." And I agree 100%. That's why I often say, you plus God is the majority. It's time to look to him again and get our feet back on solid ground. When God commands you to do something, never rely on someone else to see it through. This is our hour. This is our moment. Breakthroughs always cost someone something. We must be willing to pay the price. Are you? There is always repentance before restoration. We must begin here. So again, this is Pastor Shane reading from my new article in 2023 titled, "The Breaking of America, What Hurts the Most." You can find this at ShaneIdleman.com. ShaneIdleman.com, my articles and other resources. You can also visit my YouTube and Rumble channels to hear sermons where a lot of these articles originated. So thank you for listening.
Touch my lips, here I am.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Idleman Unplugged, be sure to send us your ideas and topics for future episodes of the podcast. You can send us an email at westsidechristianfellowship.org or shaneidleman.com. Thank you for listening to us today, and join us again on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Idleman Unplugged. For more information, visit us at ShaneIdleman.com. Again, that's ShaneIdleman.com.
This podcast is part of the Edify Podcast Network. Edify is a faith-inspiring app that brings together thousands of the best Christian podcasts in one place for your listening enjoyment. Cut through the noise and grow your faith by diving into the world's top Christian podcasts today. Download the Edify app for free from the App Store or Google Play, or by going to edify.app. That's EDIFI.app.
El Paseo Publications proudly supports the Westside Christian Fellowship Radio Network. We are committed to quality in Christian publication. Free ebooks can be found at westsidechristianfellowship.org under free ebooks. Books such as What Works for Men and What Works for Young Adults will help readers understand that the obstacles ahead are never greater than God's power to take you through. Books such as What Works When Diets Don't and Feasting and Fasting demonstrate how health can be achieved from a biblical perspective. Other free books such as Answers for a Confused Church and Desperate for More of God show the importance of fully surrendering our lives to Christ. And One Nation Above God is a must-read for anyone concerned about the direction of America. Again, free downloads of these ebooks are available at westsidechristianfellowship.org. We are happy about partnering with the Westside Christian Fellowship Radio Network.